Welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to run a file query. In this file query we're looking for malicious content in the PowerShell profile for all users. So this is going to entail PowerShell, the PowerShell ISE, and the Visual Studio Code profiles that are auto-loaded. We want to make sure that nothing malicious is running in those profiles. Let's get into it. So the command we're going to use is get bg child item list. So very similar to get child item from PowerShell. This one is a little bit more robust, and the first thing we're going to do is do a walk on it. So let's do that real quick. Get bg child item list. And what I want to show off is the search path. So we're going to do a help inside. And this is going to give us parameter help. So now we can actually look at the specific criteria for search path. And like I mentioned earlier, we want to do a search for all user profiles. And we only want to do the documents settings folder, or the documents folder, which is where Microsoft by default stores the PowerShell profile. So with that said, we don't want to call see users and then do a recurse for a file. I mean, you could be searching thousands and thousands of files and truly taking, maximizing the scan time when that's all you have to do is call the specific folder structure. Now, we don't know what users are on that machine, so the best thing to do is to use a flag. So this one's a flag variable. So if we use this call here of all users, you can see in our example, this says our search path is going to be all users app data roaming, or in our call, it's going to be all users documents. And then underneath that, it's going to look for the specific file type using our pattern. But the great thing about this process is that it will it will scan the all users profile directory and find all users that are underneath that folder, parse out their directory structure to then recreate what we see here. So you can see our search path is all users app data roaming. Our output is going to be C users administrator, C users, user 1, user 2, user 3, and user 4. And instead of searching at the root and searching thousands and thousands of files, we're actually calling the specific folder and doing a search underneath there for a specific pattern. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get back to the main screen. So now we're back at the prompt. Let's do a clear screen. And like I say all the time, let's run the command on the host just to see if it works and how and what data we're going to get back. So we're going to do a get bg child item list. Now we're going to do a path, and we're going to look for the search path of all users. So in this case, we're going to do all users /documents. Okay, now we have our flag with our path. And here now we're going to make another call to our pattern. And we're going to look for the Microsoft profiles. So for PowerShell, ISE, Visual Studio, and PowerShell itself, the name of the file is called, or the contents of the file name have Microsoft and profile with an extension of PS1. So we're going to write that in regex so it grabs any of the three variations for all the users. So it's going to be Microsoft.*, which means wildcard until it finds the next set of data structures, which is going to be profile. And then we're going to do a .* again, .*. So it's going to wait until it can find the end, and then it's going to look for we're going to escape the period. So escape.ps1 $. So that's going to find any profile with Microsoft variable, any data inside, wildcard data inside, profile, wildcard, and then .ps1. So that's what we're searching for. We're going to do a recurse on that directory. And here we're going to do a return object just so we could see if any data, actually, you know what, let's do out YAML, actually. So we can see how many folders and files were scanned as well. We're running this on this machine, and we're doing it for all users. So let's run with this and see what we get. All right, so from what you can see, we have items here. So our command and our items, and our data came back. So we have a full name of the administrator has a Windows PowerShell, Microsoft PowerShell ISE profile. You can see here we have a user with the full name. This one's the PowerShell profile. So you can see how they were different and how we called it. So it looks like we have, and if you notice here, you can see we have documents and settings PowerShell and documents and settings Windows PowerShell with both of those profiles in there. So this is grabbing those profiles from subdirectories underneath our user for different, one is Posh, so Windows PowerShell is Posh 7, PowerShell is Posh 3 to Posh 5, pretty much Posh 2 even. So you could see that it was calling there, and if we had Visual Studio profile loaded, we would see that too. So this pulled a variation of those profiles, and that's great. So we know that the get child item list is working, but now we want to show the internal information, so the stream data for each one of these files that it found. So now what we're going to do is take that command, put it into an expression, and then use another command called get BlueGenie file streams. So this is going to get our stream data back to us. Stream data means data content. So here we have, it's very similar to get content, but can also look at alternate data streams. So ADS on files. So here we're going to do a get BlueGenie, so BG file streams, path. Actually, what I should have done is take this, copy that. Now we're going to do a get BG file streams, path. Here we're going to do, we're going to put the command in to our expression. We only need for our paths, we need the full name. So we're going to do a select object on this guy. We're going to do a recurse return object. And then we're going to do a select object, expand property, full name. So now we'll only get the full name. And if you want to see that happen, actually, I can do this real quick. All right, so there's our three file full names of the paths that we found. So one for administrator, two for our user, and there's three profiles. Those profiles, we want to gather that data and show what information is inside so we can detect if there's malicious code or content running from inside. So again, back to file streams, path, gonna load in our expression that data. And now we're gonna tell it to show all streams. So it's not just looking for ADS, it's gonna look for the data stream as well and give us that content back. So now we wanna see what that data is. We can out YAML this as well. So we'll run that real quick. It will parse that directory using the get child item list, find our full name paths for the objects that we've looked for, pass that over to the BG file streams, and then give us all the data inside of these PowerShell profiles. Administrators up here, on disk, streams, content, right there. So it did have some nested information in that PowerShell ISE profile, and then the other path is here. Which has tons and tons of data. And then the last path is here. which has no data. You can see nothing in the stream data. All right, so now that we know that works, let's clear screen and let's put that in our settings list for our commands and send that off to all of our remote machines to get processed and give us back some data. So like we've done before, we're going to put commands as the prefix. We're going to tell it to add this command. This has double quotes in it, so this is PowerShell, so we're going to single quote this guy. We are not going to output YAML because we want it to come back as a normal hash table, which then gets converted to JSON by default. We're going to load that command. You can see in the command section we have this here. We're going to load. We're going to run our artifact from the console. So this time we're just going to run systems. We are going to use the group identifier. So add group, and then we're going to call our security group. All right, now all our computers are added. Let's take a quick look at settings. We have all of our computers from our Active Directory security group. We have our get file streams for all the file paths using the AllUsers flag. We can create a job ID for this one. We will call it 123. So now we have a job ID. We're going to clear screen, and now we're going to run our artifact, our scan. All right, so our job is done. Now we can review the data. So let's open the transaction log, or the transdir. You can see that our log folder is there. Go into completed, and we can see a list of JSON files. So we know that the dev box always has a lot of information. The Windows 10 had a good amount of data as well. We can check on those. So there's 4 machines that are online, and that did have, or it looks like they have a little bit more data than normal. So we're going to take a look at those. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll open up the ADDC 001 file in Notepad++. We'll do the JSON viewer, format JSON, and we could see if we found anything in here. So if we scroll down, we could see that we did a search and return. Return gave us no data, so this was clean. So they don't have a loaded profile anywhere in any of the users that are part of that DC, which is good. So I'm assuming based on file size that we're probably going to see the same thing for 7. So let's check that one out. And we have the same. Nothing in there. We're going to check the other one, which is the Windows 10 001 machine. And again, this one came back clean, so nothing found. So far, our scan was really good. We didn't have any data that we were worried about. So what we want to do is now, obviously this is just for testing, we know that this dev box has profiles loaded, has PowerShell profiles with data, and we can see tons and tons of data here. We're going to run this plugin, convert that to something that we can read, and then from our previous scan, you could see right off the bat that we had 3 paths that we found. So 1 for the administrator, 2 for the users, 1 for PowerShell, and 1 for PowerShell 7. So there was profiles in each one of those locations, and if we scroll up, we can see the data a little bit more clearly. So here we have our items. Here is this specific profile, and in that profile, we're looking at the content of that file. And the name is data, so that was the data stream, so that's the normal the normal stream when you double click on the file and open it up in Notepad or whatever file association that's associated with that. Here you could see we have another one. This one is for the user, and their content is massive. So tons and tons of data that's being loaded inside of that specific profile. Again, the name of that is the data stream. So that is the normal stream data. It's not ADS. And then here is another profile. So this one's the Posh 7 profile, and there's no content for that file. The file is just exists, but there's nothing inside of it. That's it for that video on running a query for all users and searching for their PowerShell profile data. I appreciate you guys watching the video, and I hope to catch you guys on the next one.